Shalom, leaving where left off. And Apostle Tahar also has a video on the same subject, so we're going to look at that as well. You know, because like everything else, prophecy is speaking, man. Samson option, nuclear war, right around the corner. And even Chris Green put up a video on the very same subject, so we're going to get into all that. Shalom, first and foremost, like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rekakadash. Double honors the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who are teaching this truth in sincerity. And shout out to Yakims out there in the four quarters of the earth to proclaim this truth. Braka the Yahweh, Braka the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rekakadash, Brakatum. So, we have the 100% truth, and no other group warns more about World War III and the impending MOTB, because that is impending, and that's right around the corner. The New World Order cannot commence unless everybody's implanted with a device, unless everybody has received it, you know. And like everything else, though, all roads are leading up to those mandates. The hour of temptation is coming, and so is the third woe that cometh quickly.
Okay? NLT. It says, for evil people have no future. The light of the wicked will be snuffed out. There you go.
Yeah.
You know, in verse 21. Okay? And that's the point, right? Let's go back.
It goes back to the old saying, I'm going to hell, and you're all coming with me. And that's definitely the attitude of Amalek.
Annihilate Israel. Behind Israel is existence.
So Israel has secret weapons we don't even know about, and they'll bring them out if they have to. And that is what people are very afraid of, that Israel will resort to using nukes. And the question is, who will they use nukes against? And you might think, oh, they're only going to use nukes against Iran, they're only going to use nukes against Lebanon, Hezbollah, against the Houthis, against the Palestinians. But remember, the Israelis have a long list of enemies. They've now put Egypt on that list, Turkey is on that list, and the way things are going in the United States, Americans are about to be put on that list.
Of course. And this is in the media right now, all right? They're talking about, you know, pretty much shooting those missiles against America. Okay? So it's going down, man. All right? Sooner than what we realize.
And Israel is proving itself to not be trustworthy when they decide you're an enemy. They will kill you. They will murder you. They will murder your children, and they won't even think twice about it. And every American should be kind of hesitant about that. I mean, really hesitant about that. The fact that, you know, here we are saying our greatest ally is this group of people who, without even blinking twice, would kill your children. They would just shoot them right in the head. The minute they say you're an enemy, they'll shoot your children.
That's who's behind all the assassinations,
so, yeah, I want to make a
etc.
quick point on what she's saying. Hold on. Okay, so this made me think about this, but check this clip out real fast, right? Just to add on to what she's saying. Kim Iverson, right? Check this out.
Guys, they're merging the militaries because they can clearly see that they're not going to be able to get American soldiers to cooperate and open fire on American civilians. But they know who they can get to do it, for sure.
I'm glad she said it, because I literally was trying to make a video about this, and I didn't know how to say it without the video getting struck down. But because it's not my words, we're okay. Let's move on, because I wanted to talk about it. Directs the Secretary of Defense to appoint an executive agent to synchronize U.S. blank defense technology research, testing, licensing, and joint production. So this is for defense. When you think of defense, you think of being at home, right? Not offense. However, they use the word defense to classify offense and defense. Oh, we're defending ourselves by invading your country. What the fuck is that? But also, intelligence, advanced tech sharing, focuses on expanding emerging fusion intelligence and battlefield data networks and expanding cooperative ventures on AI, quantum computing, autonomous systems, direct energy, and cyber warfare. Directed energy, like the dudes that the same lady was talking about when she had her hands, Amy Eskridge. Have we forgot about the scientists? 15 of them missing, and oh, look, how convenient. Autonomous systems, cyber warfare.
Yeah, these fires appearing from nowhere.
Like fusion, nuclear, LRAD. There's many devices that they don't want to talk about. The Jetson. I've made these videos, guys. If you're not paying attention, you need to be following, because I'm out here fucking whistleblowing every goddamn thing that comes under the radar. Remember AI, when they asked Claude, said, hey, can we use your AI to use for autonomous weapons? And they said no, and they said, well, fuck you. You're now a national supply chain threat. You're a problem. You're a domestic. Remember that? And then guess who said, sure, no problem? ChatGPT. Sam Altman, the guy who whacked his whistleblower, allegedly. That guy. And who has nothing to do about it. And he goes, oh my God, it must have been this. Yeah, okay. That guy said, sure, no problem. Use it for autonomous weapons, which means if an AI decides to, whoops, there it is. Like Tesla's driving off of the bridge and saying, we didn't see the lines. And then they could say, we're still in testing. You should have known better to keep your hands on the wheel. Not our fault. Oh, what do you mean our AI just went around and mowed down a city? Oh, they had bad intel. What do you mean we bombed an Iranian school? Our AI told us it was a base. Oops, wrong intel. Sorry, not sorry. Sucks to suck. There's no one you can sue. Y'all ain't fucking paying attention enough, and it's fucking scaring me.
Guys, they're merging the militaries because they can clearly see that they're not going to be.
Yeah, so right here, what she's talking about, they're merging the military. So pretty much, America's merging the militaries with the small hats, right? So that made me think about when they implement the martial law and you got soldiers on the ground in the streets, there's going to be small hats disguised as American military, and they're going to be gunning people down. You know, it's like she's saying, the American soldiers are not going to do it, but who you think is going to do it? So that's what I was thinking about when Kim Iverson made this point. See what I'm saying? They're going to be the ones that's going to be killing, you know, unaliving, you know, the so-called American people, you know? Play that part again. So I thought that was kind of heavy, right? Because that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yep.
About that, I mean, really hesitant about that. The fact that, you know, here we are saying our greatest ally is this group of people who, without even blinking twice, would kill your children. They would just shoot them right in the head. The minute they say you're an enemy,
Yep.
they'll shoot your children.
And we said it, that America's going to look like Gaza. Gaza was just the testing point for what's about to happen. You think that it's not going to happen in Babylon, you're just fooling yourselves. Things are about to get a lot worse. We keep telling you, we keep warning you. Can't say we didn't warn you.
And you're not one of them. So if you're not one of them, you're not protected. And even those who are them, there's Jewish people who are Jewish, obviously, and they're if they're anti-Israel, they're suddenly also on the, you know, they're in the crosshairs as well. Here's Tucker Carlson talking to Alex Jones about this very thing, about his fear that Israel will resort to using nuclear weapons.
I think we're in a really dangerous place right now because Israel is, for the first time maybe in my lifetime, legitimately threatened. And I say this as an opponent of the Israeli government, obviously a fairly well-known opponent of the Israeli government, but I don't want to see innocents die anywhere, including Israel. Period. I believe in universal standards. It's always wrong to kill innocent people, including in Israel. So I'm not wishing their destruction, but I think they are in a very tough spot. And the problem for Israel is they've been talking for 50 years, my whole conscious life, about how they're on the verge of being destroyed, and that's always been a lie. But now...
No, that's not a lie. That's prophecy, man. You know, they are on the verge of being destroyed.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why this is all an act of war. You know, Psalm 140, as we brought out yesterday, all right, the wicked and evil man, all right, his only intention is war. Okay? Let's go back to that, Psalm 140, again. So just pull up, bear with me. All right, this is Psalm 140 and 1. It says, O Lord, Yahweh Shemir Shai, deliver me, O Lord, Yahweh Shemir Shai, from the evil man, preserve me from the violent man, which imagine mischiefs in their heart continually are they gathered together for war. All right, Amalek, we will be at war with Amalek from generation to generation, man. All right, this thing is happening.
Yep. And so, like everything else, so that leads me to Chris Green's video here. And you got Apostle Tahar, both Chris Green and Apostle Tahar, except that Chris Green's saying that the U.S. will do a nuclear strike against Iran, and that it's imminent and could happen within the next few days. You know, and then you got the Samson option. You know, hey man, you know, we're in some times now. You know, and like everything else, so this war cannot. The nuclear war cannot kick off until the MOTB is mandated, but look at how close we are. So here we are here. Chris Green's warning that something's about to happen. You got the 4th of July coming up, a false flag possibly, which many have been warning about, but also actual nuclear strikes against Iran, which a false flag would be a reason to use nukes, even if they're just proton bombs or etc. Heavy nuclear capability weapons, kind of like the ones we saw over Yemen, you know, which the Israelis used on them.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I believe imminent nuke strikes are about to hit Iran. As I predicted several days ago, I said the United States and or through Israel would strike hard, that this would include a full regime change, and that Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu were just fake fighting.
Yep.
They're doing that for a very specific reason, optics. And as I predicted, they have begun massive airstrikes this weekend, starting on Friday after market close, but now just breaking about an hour or two ago. I believe this will result in a complete decapitation of the Iranian regime, a removal of the mullahs, and the establishment of a completely new system in the Middle East. If Donald Trump doesn't do this, it will look incredibly weak. It will show that America is incredibly weak, and I believe America's enemies will take gross advantage of the United States moving forward in the future. So this is absolutely imperative, I believe, at least from the United States perspective, to finish the job. I also think as a part of this nuke strike imminent in Iran, there will be some kind of new weapon deployed we've never heard of before. Again, AI is the equivalent of the Manhattan Project as it was during World War II. And now with AI, I dub it the alien invasion, and all this tech coming from our skies, electromagnetic frequencies, EMP-like weapons, and grid-down scenarios, I think something like that will also be used. Remember, Donald Trump in the White House has said that they can factually bend space-time reality. They've really said that. So things are about to get hot. Please
Yeah.
like and share this video. I believe that an imminent nuke strike on Iran is happening now.
So there you go. So like everything else, though, you know, he's just one of many like Alex Jones. So, hey man, Apostle Tahar was getting into it too, man. This is what's speaking right now, because we may actually see heavier weapons used, you know, for this planned regime change. You know, Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, and near a Great Millstone, we all are saying the same thing, that things are about to get lit up a lot more. But the full-blown nuclear war cannot happen until they mandate that everybody be implanted with the MOTB. But we're going to see a lot of escalation. If you hadn't seen enough, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Shalom, real quick, please see how Bashan al Shah, Bashan al Shalom to 144,000, and we'll see if I update Shalom to Wolf. I'm going to tell this video the Samson option, end the war of Armageddon. I did put in end the war, not end the war. So it should be the Samson option, end the war of Armageddon. So I typed it in. I first went to the all, and I went to news, so I'm kind of going backwards. Matter of fact, let me do this. Let me go to images. Give you a lot of information on his terminology, the Samson option. Let's go to all to give you the definition. Then we're going to go to Revelation 16. The Samson option is an alleged Israeli nuclear deterrence strategy named after the biblical figure who brought down a temple to destroy his captors and himself. It serves as an apocalyptic last resort if Israel faces an existential defeat or destruction of much of its territory. It threatens massive retaliatory nuclear strikes against its enemies. So let's read some of this. So they know that they're going to kick off Armageddon. Revelation chapter 16. Conceptual breakdown of doctrine. Contrast with traditional Cold War concepts like mutually assured destruction, MAD. That term came about with the two powers. One time it was two major world powers, US and Russia. And they have enough missiles to destroy the world a couple times, more than once. So them having those missiles, those long-range missiles, they determined that there's not going to be a war because no one wins in a nuclear war. So they came up with the term mutually assured destruction, meaning Russia's going to be destroyed, America's going to be destroyed, every place else is going to be destroyed. The world's going to be done away with. And that's a good acronym, MAD, M-A-D. But that is going to happen. And it's going to be a sneak attack on Babylon the Great. Russia and these other countries that possess these missiles will get their missiles off first before America gets their missiles off. And that's what the scriptures say. The scriptures say it more than once. It speaks about a thief coming in as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and all the elements shall melt with fervent heat, which aims to, and see, this shows you that we are relevant because nobody's really talking about this. The only ones that's really talking about, now the spirit, now last week, 2 weeks ago, a month ago, it was all on the spirit of MOTB, now the whole spirit shift, and we're talking about the destruction of Babylon, MAD, the concept of the Samson option, because they think the leaders of Israel think that the people of the Most High, they're going to be delivered. They're not going to be delivered. They must know that they're biblical Edomites, being Esau's end of the world. They don't believe that America's going to be utterly destroyed. They believe that they're going to fight through this, and they're going to come up with the right strategy as to not be hit with missiles. They don't understand. And they want, the government has tabs on all of us, and they watch all of our business. They pay people to watch our videos. So they must say to themselves, what if this is true? What if these guys are the Israelites, which they know they were the Israelites? Or what if it comes to pass, the things they've been saying about the mark of the beast, which they know they're going to introduce the mark of the beast because they have the technology. Google and Chat GPT is not hiding it anymore. And the Most High, well, I'll say this, the people that say the Israelites, you shouldn't say Israelites, it's not about the Israelites, it's about the prophets that so happen to be Israelites. So when you speak about us, you should speak about us in a prophetic sense. It says, which aims to prevent nuclear war by threatening mutual annihilation, and I'll be destroyed, but you'll be destroyed. I'll be satisfied. Well, that's a stupid concept. The Samson option is primarily aimed at non-nuclear adversaries. It threatens, that's why it says non-nuclear adversary. That's why Russia will be a guard unto these nations, the Arab nations and the African nations. Persia being one of them, Libya being another. Threatens deliberate nuclear devastation, even if Israel perishes. So they don't give a fuck. That shows you that you're a madman. And that's also the term that comes to mind is a Mexican standoff. Look that up. They gave you an example of a Mexican standoff in a movie, almost like the last scene, True Romance. If you haven't seen that movie, see that movie. You gotta watch the whole movie. But one of the last scenes was called a Mexican standoff. So the guy that had the gun trained on another guy, trained on a cop, trained on the so-called bad guy. They knew that they were going to die, but they didn't give a fuck. As long as they can kill you, they're willing to die as long as they can kill you in the process. You got to be a madman because you don't value your life. Nuclear ambiguity means to not be clear as to what you're telling a person. Like legalese in a court, when the lawyer speaks legalese, he's speaking over your head. He got to tell you what he means. That's why when you go to court, they always say, do you understand the charges? Do you understand? You say, no, I don't understand none of this. In order for me to understand, I would have to go to law school, learn the law, then I can understand. I got to understand your language. And you say, yes, I understand. It says nuclear ambiguity. Israel has long maintained a policy of deliberate ambiguity, not telling you what, in fact, you ask them a question, they're going to give you a half-ass answer. The body is nuclear arsenal, which they say, oh, we don't got nuclear. We don't possess long-range missiles. So people don't know. While the country has never officially confirmed or denied its capability, global experts estimate a stockpile of approximately 80 to 400 nuclear warheads. The least of the flock shall what? Draw them out. Draw who out? Babylon the Great. And they're using Trump. That's all they're doing. They're using Trump. He's truly a puppet. Now he's cursing out Bibi Netanyahu because he's been used. And he's just now waking up to it. Historical origin of the term was popularized by American investigative journalist Seymour Hersh. I remember him in his book 1991. The 1991 book, The Samson Option, Israel's Nuclear Arsenal and America's Foreign Policy. See, Israel will not have power unless it has Babylon backing it up. But Babylon's going to be destroyed in the process for doing the bidding of Israel. Now we got the War of Armageddon. Context. Geopolitical use of the term. Commentators and strategic analysts often use the term Armageddon. We're going to read about Armageddon metaphorically to describe an all-out existential regional conflict, e.g., example given, against Iran and its proxy networks. That's why Russia will back up Persia, Ezekiel 38. And Russia will attack Israel. The Samson option represents the absolute worst-case escalation, a scenario where a devastating conventional defeat translates into a catastrophic nuclear exchange. And that's it. That's it. Now, where was I? Let's come over here. So I went to news. Israel and the United States looking forward to Armageddon. No, you ain't. You shouldn't be. Western governments have to recognize the diminution of the threat have created for themselves. And their people.
You know, it reminds me of Terminator 2, where, you know, we've used often scenes, you know, with the permanent heat and, you know, people's faces melting. But I remember there was one line in that movie, you know, when John says, man, we're not going to make it. And the Terminator tells him, it's in your nature to destroy yourselves. You know, and that's true. Esau's nature is to destroy himself, and that's what this is all about. You know, he's the one that's going to bring the very end. That is Amalek, at least the flock, the 1%.
Why the world should worry about Israel's nuclear doctrine? Because they're riding on the concept of the Samson option. If I go, you're going to go.
Yep.
So they don't give a damn. They don't give a damn about themselves. So they don't give a damn about themselves. They damn sure don't give a damn about you. The threshold to Israeli authorities have set for the use of nuclear weapons is dangerously low. Ray McGovern. Israel lost the Iran war. This was as of March, a couple months ago. May use nuclear weapons. But none of this is going to happen until they make the microchip mandatory. And this is what we know. So you got other major Israelite groups saying, oh, it can happen any day now. Nope. The mark of the beast has to take place. The great chipping has to take place. And we're the premier group that teaches that concept, or part of the scriptures. Israel planned this war on Iran for 40 years. Everything else is smoke, is a smoke screen. Palestine Chronicle. I didn't know Palestine had their own newspaper company, whatever site. Iran and Palestine, a war that may decide the final struggle for liberation. The Samson option, Israel's plan to nuke its opponents. Navigating chaos. Israel, nuclear ambiguity, and the Samson option. Okay, where did this come from? Daily Advocate, Rise of the Antichrist. They don't even understand the concept of the Antichrist. The Antichrist is not one man. And that's what they're looking for. That's what these Christians, they're looking for this one guy with a Brooks Brothers suit, with that attaché case. Oh, he got to be the Antichrist. So they don't know the scriptures. But they can get their full understanding by watching us. We are the authority. Like God just said, that the Hebrew Israelites speaking on the corner is irrelevant. No, it's not. It's very relevant. Because there wouldn't be no vocab if there was no Israelites. That's just a fact. You wouldn't be talking about it. You wouldn't be having a meeting, sit down with vocab. What are you talking about? You're talking about the Israelites, the One Westers. Rise of the Antichrist. This column will concentrate on how the Antichrist comes to world dominance. So they're looking for one man, which they don't understand the scriptures. The Antichrist will rise to power through the aftermath of an invasion of Israel. They don't know. Now, Esau can set up a guy and portray him as being the Antichrist, but there's no such thing as one Antichrist. Shows you that they don't know the scriptures. And they have the answers right before them. All you got to do is watch us. And they'll get all the answers. And if they say there's anything we can do to turn this back, nope, there's nothing you can do. Palestine will be destroyed. Babylon the Great will be destroyed. There will be a new kingdom. And Israel, the true biblical Israelites, will rule the world, and you will be slaves. That's the only thing you got forward to look forward to. And none of these Christian churches are teaching this. How many churches this Sunday are going to teach about the mark of the beast, the war of Armageddon, Edomites, Israelites? Where did I say I was going to go? Okay, let me go. I believe this is only written in the scriptures one time. Under the prophetic timetable, we're right there. We're in the book of Revelation. Give me a second. The Israelite men are going to get their rightful place on their thrones. And you women are completely fucking out of order. Completely like wild beasts, wild animals. You're going to be put in order. So Esau didn't put you in check. We're going to put you in check. You're going to be put in check. You ain't going to be doing what the fuck you want to do. 16. And fuck the 2/3. Talking about I got to love the 2/3. The number one group, the premier group, are the men of GMS from the heads on down. Not the 7. The 7 is past. They did their job. So here we go. We're going to read this in the King James. We may go ahead and read it. Matter of fact, Let me just go ahead and go to the Amplified. Armageddon 13. And I saw the spirit three, and I saw three loathsome spirits like frogs leaping from the mouth of the dragon, and from the mouth of the beast, and from the mouth of the false prophet. And we know who those three are. For they are actually the spirit demons, performing miraculous signs, technology, and they go out to the kings of the entire inhabited earth to gather them together for the war of the great day of the Most High Almighty. That's in that's south of the Levant. That's that area between the what is that, the Persian Gulf, and then you got the Euphrates, which is northeast of the Persian Gulf. Then you got the Red Sea behind them. So they're going to be in Saudi Arabia, that desert. They're going to be facing Kuwait.
Yep.
Behold.
And you got
So when that
Syria
warfare kicks off in
and
Middle East,
Israeli
so-called Middle
state.
East, at the same time, missiles are going to be shot on Babylon the Great. And at that time, every active military member in the United States is going to be in the Middle East. They're going to be a part of the soil. Behold, I am coming like a thief. That's why America's not going to be able to get off. Or I'll say it this way, they're not going to be able to get off their masses of weapons, of long-range missiles. So we're right here. We're living in this timetable. This is we can honestly say that this is months away. Blessed is he who stays awake and who keeps his clothes. And this is how God didn't keep his clothes. He ran to Christianity. He said he got baptized 4 months ago. I don't know when that interview was done. I'm assuming that was done very recently. So he said he got baptized 4 months ago. So he found Jesus. That is, stay spiritually rich, stay spiritually ready. Anybody turning back on the plow, back into the world, guess what? You're done. You're going to take the chip and you're going to die here in America. And you're so stupid, you're not even going to try to leave America for the Lord's return, so that he will not be naked, spiritually unprepared. That's what it means by being naked, spiritually unprepared, not possessing the oil. And you women don't possess it. And men will not see his shame. And they, demons, gathered the kings and armies of the world together at the place, which is in the Hebrew, is called Armageddon. Armageddon. So Armageddon is only mentioned, I believe, one time. Now you have it up here in the headline, right here, but that's not part of the scriptures. I just want to go on and just look up something. Only one time. Armageddon is written one time. Revelation 16, verse 16. Just want to see what it says. Let me go to commentary. Give me a lot of word salad. You know what? Let me do this. This is not long. I'll read some of it. I'm not going to read this. You know what I'm going to do? Let me do this. Let me just go to cross-reference. Okay, light on Revelation 19. Okay, Joel 3:9, beautiful. Zechariah 14:2, beautiful. Zechariah 14:3. Anyway, I'm going to say shalom, and so I'm going to make this short. On to the next. We're right where we're supposed to be. That's the coming of the kingdom and the destruction of this goddamn place.
Exactly. And like everything else, though, you know that as we get closer and closer to the end, you know, we're living in perilous times, merciless times. I mean, you know, just a couple more videos here, man. I mean, just wickedness everywhere. These animals are catching it. And you just see it. You see it for what it is. That faggot shit going on this month. Yeah, fag month. At least that's near the end. But yeah, all month was faggot shit. Because wickedness has filled the earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled, right? The Most High is about to smite Egypt with plagues as before. As Apostle Tahar just put it, that's where we are. This is just months away from happening. But there has to be a mass chipping event. But you can see that the hurtful works are fulfilled. Because, believe it or not, a lot of the 2/3 participate in this faggot shit. And they're going to get destroyed for that. The whole world sees this place of Sodom. They see the sins of Sodom in this place of Sodom. Because they're the only ones fighting the fag flag. The rest of the world ain't into that shit. That is the Muslim countries, etc., right?
A culture clash is brewing at the World Cup, with FIFA being forced to choose whose values take priority. The national teams of Egypt, Iran are facing off in Seattle tonight, where major LGBT celebrations are expected to spill over into the stadium. The football federations from both Muslim countries filed complaints with the tournament's organizer. They say the pride events conflict with their cultural, religious and social values of the participating athletes and their supporters. FIFA's official response emphasised the association's commitment to inclusivity and allowed fans to bring rainbow flags to the match. Let's hear some reaction from Egyptian and Iranian guests to the programme. I'm joined now by Mossab Salah, Editor-in-Chief at Goal Arabia and Chorus Sports Outlet, and Hamid Reza Golamzadeh, Deputy for International Affairs in the Tehran Municipality. Thank you very much for joining us on the programme this evening. As I'm sure you're both aware, Egypt and Iran will be facing off on the pitch in the coming hours. My first question to Mr. Salah, if I may, why do you think FIFA allowed this match to be associated with LGBT pride before it was clear which national teams would be participating?
In my opinion, FIFA had no real say in this matter to begin with. They chose to remain completely neutral, washing their hands of the situation.
Because they're in Sodom, ultimately.
This game was they decided to make this game the pride match before even the draw, and FIFA didn't intervene or change anything for it. I think this has become a signature pattern for Gianni Infantino whenever he faces a controversial or political sensitive issue. He preferred to avoid taking a definitive stance like what he did in Qatar in World Cup 2022, where he allowed organizers to dictate the rules regarding the LGBTQ issue. And now we are seeing the exact same hands-off approach being repeated in Seattle. FIFA under Infantino rates more like a corporation trying to avoid PR backlash rather than a governing body upholding universal standards.
My next question to Mr. Hamid Reza Golamzadeh, please. FIFA has informed Egypt and Iran that it will allow LGBT flags in stadiums, the rainbow flags, citing its dedication to inclusivity. What are your personal feelings on this reasoning? Do religious values not warrant the same consideration, do you think?
Yeah, the old days of speaking about fair play or politics is not included in sports. Those old days have already gone, and you can see how politics is forming sports, and how Russia is excluded from the World Cup, how Iran is actually denied a visa to go and stay in the United States, while the plays are in U.S. soil, and they just go there ahead of the match and should leave the country immediately after the match and put pressure on Iran. And now you are seeing that how they are fighting against their religious values and the beliefs of two nations who happen to
America has no values. They're the Sodomites.
The beliefs that they have are deep in the roots of their civilization, and they are fighting against that. So they are doing that in the form of inclusivity and freedom of speech and such claims, why they are not allowing those countries to respect their own beliefs.
See why it's called Sodom in Egypt in the New Testament.
The sports field. And they are doing that just to put pressure on those countries. It is a clear politicization of the sports, and that is something that is totally against the fair play that FIFA used to claim for many years, as far as I remember from my teenage years. They always said that fair play is very important. Now you are seeing that they are raising those flags in the battlefield, in the sports field actually, and they are annoying both Iranians and Egyptians in the battle in the arena when they want to fight against one another in the soccer game. Now they need to be actually put pressure on because of such value that they are claiming, and they know that it is against our beliefs, the Muslim beliefs. And interestingly, even President Trump and his party are against those values, and it is not something that even
Yes,
the
it's
American
blatant,
administration supports.
and it's against the
Of course,
most
it's not
high.
being seen by FIFA as a provocation. They're saying the match was scheduled before the teams were announced. Also, it's not about Egypt or Iran. It's about Seattle, which will be celebrating its Pride weekend. Is it going to provoke the supporters and the players? Is it going to affect the match, do you think, Mr. Mossab? Do you think Egyptian supporters will behave differently, or there will be a different mood because of the LGBT flags?
Of course, Egyptian fans will need to feel satisfied and accept the situation under any circumstances. We're talking about passionate fans, many of whom made endless financial sacrifices and traveled thousands of miles all the way from Egypt just to support their team. And this is precisely why the organizing committee and local authorities must step up, show some empathy, and handle this crisis with deep understanding. If they continue to ignore the fans' grievances, the situation will only escalate. Look.
Yep, because they're going to defend Faggot Month. And like everything else, though, you can see that who the Sodom Egypt is, and that you can see that Egypt, ancient Egypt, has complaints about it, which actually the Arabs took over Egypt. That's a longer story, but nonetheless, though, you know, Muslim states do not support that faggot shit. You know why? Because at least in Islam, they keep a lot of the actual, you know, values that were there. You know why? Because we were joined, you know, during our captivity, we were joined with Persia, you know, during that time of their empire, you know, we were putting a big hurt against Amalek. You see, like everything else, though, you know, we're in that place of Sodom and Egypt spiritually. And this devil come down having great wrath, proving that this is also New Egypt, you know, because, you know, you're being brought into Egypt again. And this also happened. The animals are suffering under this devil. Because you've heard about these pigs. Well, these shelters that are supposed to be taking care of them. Well, listen to this one. This one, you know, should make you sick. God damn it. Hold on. Salakia. Let me get that. I thought that I had that. But then again, this shouldn't surprise you, because look at how fucking wicked vets are. Yeah, you ain't got the money. They're going to suggest something like amputation rather than actually trying to work with you and help you. And help the dog at the end of the day. No, these fucking people are fucking devils, so this ain't surprising, right? Animal rescues. But look at the remains. They were all shot dead, as this video goes into. Fucking sickening. I fucking hate Esau, man. Esau fucking deserves to die. And the only reason I'm able to even withstand all the bullshit here in Babylon, in Egypt, is because, of course, I have my companions, my dogs, you know. But then, you know, if you knew all the other shit, which I've talked about it before, man, I have to go visit my German Shepherd because of Karen here, you know, making false accusations against my German Shepherd. So they made me remove my German Shepherd. Then my Pomeranian died last year. Then I got a multi-pom, but she ended up breaking her leg. And, you know, what do the vets do? Well, they suggest, well, if you can't afford the surgery, which is over $5,000, we suggest taking this surgery of amputating. Here's a penny saver. It'll only cost you around $3,600. That's Asher's price. It's like, fuck you. It's a ransom. It's extortion. So it's not the least bit surprising that this comes up. I'm just ranting a little bit, but getting into this a little bit.
For a third straight day, excavators searched the Humboldt County property of a self-proclaimed no-kill rescue.
You cannot put into really words of what exactly it smells like. The closest thing I can think is a pile of dead deer.
The Humboldt County Sheriff's Office, FBI, and several state agencies are involved in Thursday's excavation. Authorities say dozens of dogs have already been dug up, many with microchips. It follows our reporting on a search warrant affidavit alleging the rescue accepted dogs and money from shelters across California under the promise they would be cared for and rehomed. Instead, investigators believe dogs were killed to make room for more. Berkeley and Oakland were among the Bay Area shelters that sent hundreds of dogs there before cutting ties. The investigation began after a neighbor uncovered a burial pit containing 8 dogs with apparent gunshot wounds.
I hope that it will be the beginning of a change where the animals will be removed from him and placed into legitimate rescues where they actually find loving homes.
We are still not naming the rescue. More than 2 months later, no charges have been filed against the owner or any employees.
See?
I wouldn't take the fact that it's been a little while and charges haven't been filed as any indication that they won't be filed.
Experts say prosecutors would have to prove exactly exactly what happened?
Animal cruelty cases can be especially difficult to charge and
It's
prosecute.
quite
because
obvious
there
when
are
you see the
unique
bullet
evidentiary
hole.
challenges that come with animal cruelty
They can
cases.
hold them accountable.
Most notably, the fact that the animals themselves can't testify.
And even the most shocking allegation in this case may not by itself prove animal cruelty.
Euthanize an animal in California by a bullet. So that alone is not animal cruelty.
Investigators say hundreds of dogs sent to the rescue are still unaccounted for.
God forbid hundreds of dogs are found buried. The owner is found responsible for that. He still might not face any animal cruelty charges.
He might not.
So animal cruelty is not the only focus of this investigation. Legal experts say potential charges could also include fraud, conspiracy, also nonprofit law violations. Now, both the rescue and the investigation remain open. Updated excavation numbers are expected tomorrow. We did reach out to the rescue again today, but we did not hear back. The owner, though, has repeatedly denied allegations that it killed dogs to make room for more.
But you see that this is Esau for you, right? Everything's fucked up under this devil. That's why there has to be a regime change. And the Most High, Yahweh, is going to send in Yahweh Shai and the angels for a regime change. We're part of that regime change. You see? The regime of Esau Edom has to go. And then, of course, well, you already know that this was a do, because again, these people are being led to... well, if we're going out, we're taking everybody else with us. And they use this because, of course, Venezuela, of course you're going to still have a lot of opposition. Even though they've fucking changed the government, they're still fucking using this weapon against the people. Why? Because they're Israelites in Venezuela. Duh! They're still part of the tribes. This devil's coming down and having great wrath. Everything collapsed in 5 seconds. Venezuela earthquake survivor recalls her ordeal. As rescuers search for survivors in the aftermath of Venezuela's twin earthquakes, young girl who spent 2 days trapped underneath the rubble of her collapsed 5-story building has recounted her ordeal to RT. So we'll play some of this. This is ongoing as they're still looking for survivors.
Saturday marked 72 hours since the earthquakes that shook Venezuela, a critical deadline for finding survivors trapped under the rubble. Rescuers explained that without serious injuries, a person can survive this long in places with access to air. But this is also the maximum limit for survival without water. So every minute is vitally important.
You can say it's
Although
a year
hope
of
is
turn up
fading
too.
at RT, we learned of a story that instills optimism amid all this grief. The story of a young girl rescued alive after spending 2 days trapped under the rubble on the first floor of her 5-story building.
I believed that I would get out in an hour, 2 hours, a few days, but I would get out, and I asked for it very strongly. I begged God to get me out of this situation. If I wasn't meant to get out, if I wasn't meant to come out alive from this situation, then I begged for my brother and my aunt. And I also told God, if you give me a second chance at life, believe me, I will make the most of it.
She was in her apartment with her brother and aunt, who are still being tirelessly searched for among the ruins left behind by nearly 60 apartments in this building.
Everything collapsed in 5 seconds, I think, no more. And I remember opening my eyes, everything was in place, and then I opened my eyes again and found myself among the debris with a partially injured leg, because part of a column or wall had fallen on it, and there was smoke everywhere. That was the only thing I remembered, and my phone in my hand, which for the first 2 days served as a guide for me to know the time and the day.
She says she couldn't hear what was happening outside. It was completely dark and silent around her. For almost 48 hours, her survival instinct kept her going.
I heard, we're here with you, we're here with you. And I said, my God, why is it taking you so long to reach me? The only thing I told them was, please don't leave me alone. Please say something to me. I want to know. And when I finally saw the light, because I couldn't see anything at all, my phone had died and it was very dark around me. I couldn't see anything. Nothing. Nothing. There was total darkness before my eyes. When I finally saw a flashlight, the first thing I asked her was, please give me a flashlight. I need to see what's around me. When the rescuers shone the light on me, I saw the sky.
Her mother, who had left the house just minutes earlier, watched as everything collapsed and was left with nothing but a veil of smoke. Now she is happy to have found her daughter again and still hopes that the miracle will be complete.
So, like everything else, so you could see that this devil's coming down having great wrath, knowing they have by a short time. And like everything else, so things are speeding up for the elect's sake, right? U.S. and Iran set for new talks. Trump says hours after Tehran denied plans due to days of Hormuz attacks. Iran has requested a meeting that will take place tomorrow in Doha wrote on his social media platform in all caps. Axios reported late Sunday, citing a senior U.S. official, that we decided to stop all kinetic activity and make way for renewed talks. So, like everything else, though, peace talks. As for how this may or may not impact vessel traffic through the strait, in the wake of the MOU deal signing and start of Switzerland technical talks earlier this month, Bloomberg reports that commercial shipping continued to move through the strait at a reduced level after recent attacks against 2 vessels. A handful of vessels made open transits over the weekend, according to tracking data. But like everything else, though, they are doing this without, the proper guidance. And so, that's, there's going to be more. Of course there is. Iran's IRGC said it targeted 8 U.S. military installations in response to the U.S. terror attacks. The flare-up began on Thursday with a drone attack on an oil tanker in the Strait, and the following day the U.S. bombed several targets against Iran's coast. The drone attack came after Iran warned that shipping through the Strait on a route it didn't approve at the UN's International Maritime Organization began evacuating ships through the waterway without coordination through Iran. After the U.S. bombed Iran on Friday, Vice President Vance accused Iran of violating the MOU and said that the violence will be met with violence. So, like everything else, though, it just means that the U.S. can do whatever it wants to. Continue violating, but IRGC is not going to. The IRGC said that further U.S. attacks would lead to the collapse of the MOU. Well, we know that there will be. Saying that the enemy should all understand that violating the ceasefire constitutes a breach of Clause 1 of the Islamabad Understanding and will result in the complete suspension of all related processes. So you already see that behind the scenes they're looking to do heavy hits against Iran, possibly bringing out bigger weapons. U.S. and Iran agreed to halt attacks ahead of Doha talks. The sides exchanged strikes on Friday and Saturday, just 11 days after they signed the Memorandum of Understanding, which a path to develop the U.S. targeted militaries, you already see. Well, pretty much though. It pretty much says the other thing, though. Oh, wait, there's more. Iran and Oman launched joint Hormuz committee to discuss the Strait's future governance. So this is cooperation between both countries. And they coordinate with each other. And Iran and Oman have held the first meeting of their newly established joint Hormuz committee, with discussions focusing on future governance on the Strait. U.S. carrot and stick gamut backfires as Iran asserts Hormuz sovereignty and asymmetric deterrence. Iran closed the waterway to the enemies and allies after the launch of the latest unprovoked American-Israeli aggression against the Islamic Republic. So, this thing's remained closed for quite some time. Because again, they continue to violate. Why should they honor anything if the other side's not honoring? Hezbollah reaffirms its right to defend Lebanon amid continuous Israeli violations of truth. You see, they're the ones that really do have the right to exist. But everybody else is saying that Israel has the right to exist, right? These guys are rats. But who's defending themselves and who's really part of the offense, right? Hezbollah resistance says Israeli state continues to repeatedly violate the ceasefire agreement, adding that it's monitoring all breaches and reserves the right to defend Lebanon and its people. The resistance movement slammed the Israeli occupation forces for persistently intimidating civilians by deploying stun grenades near residents in towns of Burj Kola and Rashid. It also noted that Israeli aircraft released suspicious objects over the Nabata al-Foha and Kafar Temnet. Hezbollah referenced the Islamabad memorandum of understanding signed between Iran and the U.S., highlighting that its initial provision mandates an immediate halt to hostilities on all fronts, which include Iran, and contending that the ongoing Israeli attacks represent a direct violation of that agreement. And they're right, but again, you can see where this is going, right? That the Israeli state's still going to drag everybody in because that's what the scriptures tell us. U.S. considering moving Gulf bases damaged by Iran to Israeli state. Well, there you go. There you go. You see, like everything else, though, the U.S. didn't care about any of those other states. They only cared about the Israeli state, and they showed that by only defending the Israeli state. And they didn't do a good job there. Iran still broke through. So the U.S. has become as weak as they, right? Have you become as weak as we, right? This is what's happening. U.S. considering moving Gulf bases damaged by Iran to Israel. Officials suggest that Israel could be new site for bases following Iran's retaliatory strikes. The U.S. has considered moving some of its Gulf bases to Israel after they were attacked by Iran earlier this year. A report in the Wall Street Journal says that the U.S. is considering refurnishing its base in Bahrain and winding down its presence in Kuwait and Saudi Arabia. Interesting, those are the main oil ones. Two officials cited the report suggest the U.S. could relocate some bases to the Israeli state. After the beginning of the U.S.-Israeli attack on Iran on the 28th of February, the Islamic Republic launched retaliatory strikes on the Gulf. So there you go. They're starting to withdraw from Kuwait and Saudi Arabia. Well, Saudi Arabia is also a BRICS member, right along with Turkey and with Iran. Damascus races to reassure Beirut as Trump pushes Syria to take on Hezbollah. See, again, they don't want anything to do with that, even though he's pretty much a puppet, the ISIS leader, right? But yet at the same time, though, he's saying, no, we don't want a war there, right? Talks of a Syrian role in Lebanon revive memories of decades of troubled relations and military occupation. I might have read this before, but we'll just go ahead and... Trump's increasingly explicit statements have also appeared to contradict an earlier denial by U.S. envoy to Syria, Barach, who dismissed the reports that D.C. had pressured Damascus to send terrorists into Lebanon as false and inaccurate. They can't do anything without knocking buildings down, Trump said. I'm close to giving it over to Syria. Yeah, he did say that. Trump did not explain what he meant by giving it over, leaving it unclear whether he was referring to Syrian military operation, political mediation, pressure on Hezbollah, tighter, broader controls, or cooperation with the Lebanese state, meaning that it's going to use ISIS to go in there, because that's who runs Syria. Turkish parliament speaker says ending Israeli aggression key to ensuring world peace. So even they know. And like everything else, though, well, they already know that they're the next target. Turkish parliamentary speaker said on Monday that ending Israeli's government actions would not only allow Palestinians to live in peace, but would also help secure world peace. And they're right. The end of these acts of aggression by the Israeli government would not allow Palestinians to attain peace and tranquility, but would also mean securing world peace, he said. He reiterated Turkey's support for the establishment of an independent, sovereign Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital, adding that there is no other way forward than a two-state solution, which right now, as it stands, the two-state solution favors the Israeli state anyways. And like everything else, though, Israel turns Armenian suffering into a political weapon as feud with Turkey deepens. Well, we'll just go ahead and read that. Israeli foreign minister said he will bring a resolution before the Israeli government to recognize the Armenian genocide. Which the Armenians are the original Syrians, by the way. So they plan to turn it into a empire, right? They plan to exploit it like they do with Kurds, etc. So here we go. I will bring before the Israeli government at its next meeting proposed resolution for the original official recognition of the government of Israel of the Armenian genocide. Recognizing the genocide perpetuated by the Armenian people in the final years of the Ottoman Empire is both a moral and historical duty. We must also condemn any denial. This resolution was subsequently to be brought before the Knesset for a vote. Basically, you know, to meddle in affairs over there, right? Because Turkey is the main part of the Ottoman Empire, which, if you know anything about the history on that, well, you know that they're just trying to revive old shit. They're trying to rehash it. Turkey must be included in European security structures. So like everything else, though, yes, they are a member of the EU as well as a NATO member. At issue is Turkey's access to the European Union's $150 billion Euro Security Action for Europe's initiative. Turkey must be included in all Europe's defense and security structures, President Erdogan said on Monday, a week ahead of the key NATO summit in Ankara. His remarks come as Europe seeks to revamp its defenses in light of the threat from Russia and the risk of a U.S. pullback from NATO, as the military alliance gears up for a key summit in the Turkish capital on the 7th and 8th of July, aka July. At issue is Turkey's access to the European Union's €150 billion Security Action for Europe initiative scheme to strengthen European defense capabilities. So, you know, pretty much though, they want, you know, they want their part, you know, in this. The Turkish leader urged NATO to remove all barriers blocking defense industry trade between members of the alliance. You know, and they're saying, look, man, you know, we're part of this too, you know. And like everything else, though, we got one more here. Well, I don't think I have time for that. I'll just have to end it here because we don't have. But you know, I'll do a lesson starting with that next time. So you know, you can see where everything's at. You know, so I'm gonna get some scriptures here before I close this out. And so we say it time and time again. Now, Pulsar Tahar had already brought this out, but you know, we know where this place is, and Syria and the Israeli state are just below the great river Euphrates. So you know it's talking about that Valley of Jehoshaphat, you know, and that's where this great war is going to take place. Revelation chapter 16, verse 12. This is the app version. And the sixth angel poured out his bowl on the great river, the Euphrates, and its water was dried up, so that the way would be prepared for the coming of the kings from the east. You know, and we definitely know that indeed there has been a drought out in that area, and that Turkey, which is a major player in this, also known as Gomer, has access to that and can cut that off. But that river has been drained. And I saw three loathsome spirits like frogs leaping out of the mouth of the dragon, which the dragon is the infrastructure of Esau Edom. You know, ultimately the beast and its power, you know, led by the U.S. And from the mouth of the beast. Again, you know, because Satan and the beast are pretty much the same, mainly talking about its military here. Satan representing Edom. And from the mouth of the false prophet. Okay, so like everything else, though, you know, they this has been coined the year of apostasy and of great sellouts, right? False prophets, misleading many. For they are actually the spirits of demons performing miraculous signs. You know, and that is, you know, we can get into the miracles of the beast about their technology, but also about their military, right? They go out to the kings of the entire inhabited earth to gather them from together for the war of the great day of the Lord Yahweh Almighty. And that's, of course, you know, you know, pretty much though, sitting ambassadors, etc., right? You know, and preparing for war. Behold, I am coming like a thief. You know, again, that this day not overtake us, right? Blessed is he who stays awake and keeps his clothes. That is, stays spiritually ready for the Most High's return. And that's what we're doing, is getting ready, man. things are going to get a lot more hectic. See, we're getting ready for all the things that have to come before the Most High Yahweh sends Yahushai, so that he will not be naked, spiritually unprepared, and men will not see his shame. You know, and that is pretty much the man, you don't really know shit, right? You know, they pretty much man, you are blind, you don't know nothing, man. And that's just it. A lot of people are blind and they know nothing. And the demons gathered the kings and armies of the world together at the place which is in the Hebrew called Hamageddon, aka that mountain of troops, which means multitudes in the valley of decision. That's going to happen, and it's just months away, as Apostle Tahar has put it. So hopefully all this has been edifying. For that, I want to say Bracha the Yahweh, Bracha the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Wa Abal Babal. Brakatam Yehofolek, Shalom.